Folks, there's a lot of controversy surrounding The Last of Us Season 2, especially Episode 2, going around right now. I just wanted to share my emotional perspective on it. And for context, I have never played any of the games. I have always heard that the first game is an absolute gem, a prize, an all-time game. I have heard this from anyone and everyone I have ever spoke to about it. I have also heard that the second game was a far cry from that of its predecessor and seemed like a departure from the series. I was told just to play the first game and don't even bother with the sequel. And I have heard this from anyone and everyone I have ever spoken to about it. With that being said, rewind over a year ago. I decided to hop into The Last of Us Season 1 television series, still without playing the game or literally knowing anything about it. And I thought Season 1 was exceptional, an absolute masterpiece, a gem, an all-time great video game adaptation into a television series. And without having played the game, everything I heard was that it was a very faithful adaptation to the source material and really hit all the major beats from the first video game. And I don't think that's something that's particularly easy to do, especially with how a game is experienced and digested as opposed to a television series or movie adaptation. Being these characters, experiencing these characters, controlling these characters every step of the way, as opposed to going along with them in a movie or TV series, totally different. Anyway, after finishing Season 1, I grew attached to some of these characters, especially Joel, and I heard that Season 2 was greenlit and would more or less continue the same continuity of the game that is The Last of Us 2. Now, I was very curious. Given the negative responses about The Last of Us 2 and how that seems to be the general perception of the game, I wondered if the TV series would remain faithful to that story or do something different and address some of the issues people had with the last game. Now, with that being said, I did no research on all the reasons why people hated the sequel before going into Season 2. I just wanted to watch it and enjoy it without anything to compare it to. Enter Season 2, Episode 1. I felt like it got things up and running to a great start, and I enjoyed the episode. In just one episode, Ellie has turned rather insufferable in her older age, agitating and annoying. I went from not having an issue with the character in Season 1 to absolutely despising her after one episode of Season 2. Now, instead of calling that a fault to the series, I figured maybe she was written to be like that, to evoke those kinds of emotions from some people. So I considered it could be great character writing. I just knew that I wasn't particularly fond of this version of her. Meanwhile, I found Joel to be in a very interesting state of mind where we pick back up with him. He's dealing with his love of Ellie and the fallout of their relationship over time, while all trying to be one of the cornerstones of this thriving community in this post-apocalyptic world, while seeking the help from a mental health care professional to try to navigate this tough part of his life. I was so excited to pick up here with Joel and see how his character arc progresses over the rest of the new season. It seemed captivating, and I knew it would be a challenge for him. The memories, the secrets, the lives lost, the pain, the joy, all of it festering and projecting. I was easily attached to Joel as opposed to any other character in the series. Meanwhile, we get introduced to this character named Abby, who for some reason, which we'll talk about later, has it out for Joel and is on a bloodthirsty revenge tour to murder him with the assistance of some of her comrades. Later we find out that Joel killed her father, who was the doctor during his Firefly massacre in Season 1. Fast forward, some characters are out doing some missions, huge infected hordes everywhere, a major snowstorm has arrived, Abby finds herself in peril, Joel saves her life, she tricks him into coming back to their hideout as a safe haven. As his only choice of survival, he agrees after weighing the situation. And boom, we are here. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. Abby reveals who she is and her intentions and motives, and begins a long segment of torturing Joel with a long, insufferable, annoying speech that was even too much for her comrades to witness and bear. Shooting him in the leg with what I think was a shotgun, then wailing on his injury with a golf club repeatedly, then eventually pummeling his face nonstop until he was unresponsive but alive. Now, during this whole long sequence, never did I think they would kill off Joel. It was inconceivable to me. There was just no way it was going to happen. So for me, there wasn't any suspense involved because I just knew you can't kill this character off. He is far too important and the most interesting character in the series. The whole time, I'm just waiting for what was going to get Joel out of this situation. Was Dina going to wake up from her drugged slumber and start shooting people down because they may have forgot to unarm her completely or restrain her completely? That never happened. And then Ellie finds her way to the hideout. I figured this was it for sure. Ellie was gonna barge in and shoot them all up, and Joel would be fine. No doubt in my mind. Nope, that didn't happen. That got canned the minute she opened the door in her emotional response. Even with that, after she was subdued, I still wasn't convinced that Joel was going to die. Not a chance. One of the other characters out on patrol would come in and save all three of them at this point. And then it happened. Abby was told by one of her friends, enough, just finish it. And even then, as she picked up the weapon and slowly walked towards Joel, I still wasn't convinced she would kill him. Something was going to burst through the window, or someone else would just burst through the door and save the day. And then it happened. Stabbed in the neck. I stood there watching Joel, thinking maybe it wasn't a fatal blow. Silly of me, I know. Then I realized it was in fact over. He was in fact killed off. The amount of anger, frustration, and disappointment that immediately began to fester inside me was overwhelming. How could you kill off Joel? How? Why? Where do we go now? Who do we follow? Who carries this franchise? None of these other characters are even remotely close to being as captivating as Joel. This is the equivalent to killing off Rick Grimes early in the Walking Dead series. That would not have been a great idea. I immediately thought, this is why. This is why. This has to be one of the major reasons why people do not like The Last of Us 2. If it happened like this in the video game, if it happened quite like this early in the game, and players were forced to finish the gaming journey without Joel and everything that comes with that, I see why this game could be despised so much. Murdered by the hands of a character we just met, that we had no attachment to, that had no weight in the series, did nothing for the series to move the needle. Some minor backstory and why she seeks revenge over her father, who at the time was a random doctor in the way of saving Ellie that was murdered at the hands of Joel. I felt like she did not earn that moment. To kill Joel off, you have to earn that moment. I barely know who this woman is. I feel like Joel's character arc was never finished. Granted, I get it. That's not how life works. Granted, Joel took a lot of lives and maybe his past has finally caught up with him. We don't always choose when we get to perish. But really? Episode 2? Murdered by the hands of what seemed like a random NPC, a character we just met? Now, with that being said, after reading many comments and opinions on this recently, I understand this starts her character arc for the rest of the series, and we assume there will be flashbacks and more stories of her past entangled with her present and future. I get it. But the timing, people, the timing. Maybe this was by design. Maybe they want us to hate her for all the reasons I mentioned, only to maybe grow to love her as the series moves on and feel conflicted. I don't know. I can't speak on it. All I can tell you is how I feel. That is all I can do. How I feel. And how I hate this feeling. I hate it. I am so rooted in my anger and hate for her character that there is no backstory, there is no event that will change my opinion on her or the decision to have her kill off Joel. My excitement for seeing where Joel's progression goes as a character, my excitement to see how his relationship moves forward and what he reveals to his therapist, my excitement to see if and how he manages to get back on Ellie's good side, my excitement in seeing if and how he reveals his Fireflies massacre secret to one or everyone, everything coming to a screeching halt, crash and burn, dead on arrival. I contemplated not watching this series anymore. I seriously contemplated it. Saying I was or am still immensely irate would be an understatement. I'm absolutely sure there will be many that will depart with the show with Joel's departure. But now I just want to stick around to watch Abby die at this point. Assuming she does. But I am starting to doubt that she will die considering how disliked the game is among Last of Us fans. Maybe it's just another reason fans were upset with The Last of Us 2. I don't know if it's good writing just by evoking this emotional response out of me or just a horrible decision to kill Joel off. I don't know. I can only tell you how I feel about it. And I'm fucking pissed. That's a wrap for today's episode. I appreciate each and every one of you for stepping in, showing your love, showing your support, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now I could sit here and smack you all around with the generic like, comment, subscribe BS, but nobody gives a damn about that. So do whatever the hell you want to do, because you're going to do it anyway. Now, I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead. I am Boo, and I am out.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.